we are dealing here, in my view, with two different types of kidnappings. We know that if your car is hijacked, you are taken along as a captive and you are then dropped off, it becomes a kidnapping. We then have somebody who might take you for 5 minutes, want 1,000 rand, it's labeled as a kidnapping. But we also have organized crime syndicates specializing in ransoms. That can vary anything from 100,000 rand up to about 20-25 million they demand at a time from the victims' families. Last year alone, I dealt with about 15 cases. Some of them were carried out by smaller amateur groups, and some of the arrests have been made. The suspects in some of the cases were even released on bail, which tells you we have a major problem with the criminal justice system. However, some of the major cases, like the Umar Karim one, the Pretoria businessman, in my view, has been carried out by organized syndicates with possibly international links. In some of the cases I dealt with, the high-profile business people last year alone, in excess of 50 million rand was paid in ransom. If you take a collective, I would imagine that runs into hundreds of millions of rands of ransom being paid. We know, for example, that these syndicates ask that the monies be paid into foreign bank accounts in foreign countries, which shows you how organized they are. They are daring, they are brazen, they are dangerous. And the quicker the police arrest the kingpins, the better it will be. There is no doubt they are targeting certain sections of the community, especially business people of Indian origin, Indian South African business people. They're targeting Bangladeshi business people, Pakistanis, Zimbabweans, Chinese. That is the trend. I believe they're seeing them as soft targets. And my appeal to business people or anyone that's been kidnapped is, as much as we fear that police may be involved with some of these rogue syndicates, report it to the police. Get the police hostage negotiators involved. And again, don't go to the media and make a big noise about it, because the victim's life is first priority. I make an appeal on the Minister of Police and the National Commissioner to set up special units with capacity and skill to deal with the kidnapping cases. We need crime intelligence to get their act together. They're in a mess. And for me, very worrying is that business people are now living in fear. I get calls almost every week from people to say, what do I do? I'm scared they might come and kidnap me. We have to be alert. I think the business community especially needs to also put pressure on the police service. We need to work united, and we need to find a solution where we can fight the scourge, invest some money into it, and even if it means we have to pay rewards to get to the kingpins of these syndicates, it will be good for the long run.
Any seemingly rise in statistics will be of concern, certainly. And I think we take appropriate steps in trying to address these matters and see that we can curb it as soon as possible. It is important to report it to the police. I know there's different reasons why people do not report, but report it to the police and see that we can get involved and deal with it as soon as possible. It's often difficult to give you the full information, but keep in mind that the police will respond not by being a one person, it will be a team, and we will put everything that we can to save a person's life, involving criminal investigation, forensics, the negotiators, whatever is needed, we will go that extra mile. All the cases are first, to start off with, look at or investigate it individually. But if there's some tendencies or some links and relations, they will be looked at.
So if we look in Africa, there's 3 countries that have traditionally been the hotspots for the kidnapping, where there's a ransom attached to the kidnapping. So that would be Nigeria, Sudan, and Mozambique, quite interestingly. So of course the concern is now, is that starting to spill over into South Africa, where we might be having the same types of crimes occurring on a frequent basis? So any company, specifically its top-level members, its CEO staff, those types of individuals, are at potential risk for being kidnapped for ransom. So companies need to take steps long before an incident takes place to do a risk assessment on their various top-level staff, to also prepare them that should they be kidnapped, this is what is going to happen. And the internal security people at the company know that this is our security plan when such an incident happens. You can't wait until it's happened and suddenly scramble around trying to figure out who do we contact, what do we do, what can we follow up. And of course you want to prepare any potential individual who could be a target for kidnapping, that psychologically they are prepared and know what to do and know what to expect once the kidnapping takes place. And it's things that will help improve their chances of surviving a kidnapping incident. So the South African police traditionally has had a very, very strong hostage negotiation unit which would be called in to assist with any kidnapping for ransom scenario. And they're very experienced. Two things I can think that would need to be improved is all except the national head of hostage negotiations, Colonel Stradom, all the other hostage negotiators in SAPS do it as a secondary function to their daily jobs. And they're called in when needed to provide these services. So one might want to look at it having an increased permanent core of individuals who are additionally or specifically trained or upskilled on the kidnap for ransom types of negotiations, who are permanently available to assist. And secondly, on the investigation side, that SAPS has specific investigators who are trained to deal with these types of very complex types of investigations. So instead of taking, for example, an organized crime detective or a Hawks detective who's dealing with a wide range of crimes, suddenly today he gets to do with a kidnapping for ransom investigation, where he's never dealt with one before. You want to have people who know what are the trends, what are the modus operandis, what resources am I going to need to use to effectively investigate these types of cases, so that hopefully one can not only get the hostage released, but eventually catch the culprits, because that's the only way we're going to really stop these types of crimes from happening. If people realize that in South Africa, this is not good business to try this type of crime, because 80% of the time people get caught and convicted for these types of activities.